Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Pete Wilkinson. I'm the Managing Director of Esri UK, and it's my absolute pleasure to welcome you here today to our annual conference for 2025. It's a glorious day outside in London, so thank you for being here with us. I've already seen lots of familiar faces this morning, which is great. So if you are returning to our conference, thank you for coming back. But a special welcome if you're joining us for the first time, and also to those people attending online. Now, the theme of our conference this year is Uniting Our World, and I think this event points very much at that theme. It's about bringing people together. It's about building communities, working with different organizations and industries, and then using our collective expertise and wisdom to unite around the common challenges we face in the world today, of which there are many. Challenges around the planet, around society, around the economy. And uniting our world is also about using GIS to help us work better together. That might be about combining disparate data sets from multiple sources, or supporting collaboration between all of our organizations, or using maps to share and communicate with citizens or decision makers. And I think ultimately all of us should be using GIS to unite our world. Now, to support you in all the really important work that you do, we continue to invest in and develop the ArcGIS platform. We want our software to be more capable, more accessible, easier to use than ever before. We want to help you be more productive and achieve more. And we've been working on that for many years. You hopefully recognize this is Jack and Laura Dangermond. They founded Esri back in 1969. And I mean, I find that truly remarkable. It means Esri's been at the forefront of GIS for 56 years. I can only imagine what technology was like 56 years ago. Now, you may not be aware, but Jack and Laura are still very actively involved in running the global business today. And it's their shared passion for geography and technology that really does continue to drive and inspire the development of the ArcGIS platform. But they also care deeply about uniting our world. They want to use, or us to use GIS to make a difference. Now, they love coming to events like this. We'd have loved them to be here. Unfortunately, that wasn't possible, but Jack did want to share a few words with you today.
Thanks, Pete. I appreciate that nice introduction. I really wish I was there in the UK enjoying being together. You know, England was the first country that I went overseas on and to when I was a teenager, and it sort of impressed me in so many ways. I'm very fond of the UK, as you can imagine, and I appreciate you being here today. I just like these meetings because they are more than simply learning. They're also about building a collective sense of where we are going with geographic science, the science of our world, and also GIS and its applications. Today, we are challenged. We're challenged because, in part, the great innovations over the last 500 years, innovations in automation, computing, industrialization, communication, have left us with a series of unintended consequences. The climate, for example, and the cascading effects of climate change on virtually everything. And what can we do? Well, I would like to talk to each of you in the following way. I'd like to suggest that geography, the science of our world, and GIS, the sort of digital twin of geography, will play an important role in addressing these great challenges that we're confronted with today. They will allow us to understand things better. In order for us to address these big challenges, it's not going to be just one idea or one organization to do it. We have to work together. And geography is everything. It's the framework within which we can bring all the disciplines together. It's all the sciences together. We're going to have to apply our best science. We're going to have to apply our best technology. and we're going to have to also apply our best collaboration and creative design thinking if we're going to get out of this mess. The theme of this conference is uniting our world. The idea is, can we actually collaborate with data and collaborate with institutional relations and also just with, frankly, friendships in order to make advances in what the future will bring. So, ladies and gentlemen, I hope this day is important for you as it is for me in addressing some of this thinking and figuring out how we can come together and create a better future. Let me again thank you for this opportunity and wish you all the best. Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you to Jack. And for me, he makes, I think, a lot of good points. Well, yeah. Jack always makes a lot of good points, but one of the key ones he makes for me is about geography and GIS as a digital twin. It allows us to bring together those multiple disciplines and sciences and to help gain new insight, to support collaboration, and to help us work together. And that, for me, is the opportunity we have today. It's about taking GIS, multiple layers of information, bringing it together. And the expertise to do that is sat in the room here. So just to put the changes in technology into context, this globe image you can see behind me is known as the blue marble. It's one of the most famous pictures of the Earth taken from space. And it was taken by astronauts aboard the Apollo 17 spacecraft in 1972, so just 3 years after Esri was founded. And it was revolutionary at the time, providing a new appreciation for the planet and understanding of the planet. But just think about how things have evolved since then. You know, our knowledge of science, but also the tools and the technology and the information we have available to us. I'm sure nearly all of you are using data from satellites, available in ultra-high resolution and near real time, accessing information from the cloud, or using data from mobile phones. And we're working with other sensors like vehicles, cameras, drones. And if you think about the latest advances in cloud computing and artificial intelligence, which we'll talk more about later, we have the opportunity to examine data and understand the planet in ways that are really quite remarkable. And we can make new connections and we can gain new insight. So for me, the opportunity to make a difference with GIS is arguably greater today than ever before. And that's really important because the other thing Jack spoke about was the unintended consequences we face in the world today and how we need to come together to unite around those challenges. So those are challenges for our planet, things like climate change, extreme weather, the loss of biodiversity, economic challenges around supply chains, energy security, and the cost of living, and the challenges we face in society around transport, housing, and security. And again, thinking about the theme of our conference, the important thing for me is that you're not addressing them alone. Throughout the UK and indeed all around the world, there are lots of governments, universities, charities, private sector organizations uniting and working together to address those challenges. And many of you are here today. So I just want to spend a quick bit of time looking at some of the amazing things you are doing with our technology and acknowledge just some of the breadth of industries and sectors and use cases where GIS is having an impact. So in the area of sustainability, many of you in the room are using ArcGIS to manage our impacts on nature and the environment. Cadent, for example, is using GIS to detect and reduce emissions from its gas network. And Sustrans is planning improvements to the cycle network, facilitating greener modes of travel. From an energy perspective, we're trying to move towards net zero. And RWE is identifying optimal locations for solar farms in the UK. And EDF is using GIS to build the first new nuclear power plant in the UK for 20 years. From a conservation perspective, the Port of London Authority is restoring salt marshes on its site. And there's some amazing work happening from the Ocean Conservation Trust and their Blue Meadows project, which is around protecting and restoring underwater seagrass. And I just want to say a little bit more about that project now. I'll be honest, I wasn't an expert in seagrass before I started preparing this presentation, but I've now realized it really is a quite remarkable species. Seagrass meadows can store carbon 35 times more efficiently than tropical rainforests, and they also provide vital habitats for marine life, and they can reduce coastal erosion. Yet in the UK alone, we've lost nearly half of our seagrass meadows since the 1930s. But the Ocean Conservation Trust is working to change that. Their marine biologists are using ArcGIS field maps on mobile devices on board boats to survey the condition of seagrass meadows. They're also looking at the growth of new plants in their nurseries and also using buoys at sea to mark endangered habitats and seagrass meadows. So, quite a unique use case, but GIS is playing a really vital role in helping the charity with its regeneration work, and ultimately seagrass is playing a really important part in managing climate change and also the loss of biodiversity. Now, another important challenge that we face in society, particularly in an increasingly turbulent world, is keeping our citizens safe. Lots of organisations working in this sector. Scottish Fire and Rescue is using GIS to understand the risks from fire and ensure their assets are optimally located to facilitate a response. At a global level, MOD is using GIS to help defend the UK and strengthen international peace and stability. And the police, including Thames Valley Police and the Hampshire and Isle of Wight Constabulary, is using GIS to improve the effectiveness of their emergency response. And then volunteer groups like the Moffat Mountain Rescue and charities such as the RNLI are literally using GIS to save lives. But I just want to look briefly now at the work of the Lincolnshire Resilience Forum. Now, they're a multi-agency group comprising nearly 30 organisations that are using ArcGIS Hub Premium to understand and share information about communities at risk. They plan for emergencies which I'm sure we're all very familiar with, like extreme flooding. And when that happens, they have dashboards and systems which allow the different organisations in the group to collaborate and share information. And that allows them to very quickly react and protect the most vulnerable in society. You may also recall there was an emergency in March this year in the North Sea where a cargo ship and an oil tanker collided. And there was real concern about what impact that would have on marine life and on the nearby beaches. But again, the Lincolnshire Resilience Forum used ArcGIS Survey 123 to survey the beaches, to look at what debris was washing up on shore and what action was needed. So thankfully, the risk ultimately was low, but really important that organisations like this are using GIS to collaborate, to protect citizens, ensure we're much better prepared to respond to and recover from these large-scale emergencies. Now, finally, I just want to briefly talk about a challenge for our economy around modernising critical infrastructure. We work with utility companies like Anglian Water and contractors such as Murphy, who are designing and delivering new utility infrastructure, pipelines, sewers, electricity, and so on. And they're helping to support not only a growing population, but also securing our energy and water security. Organisations like Community Fibre are delivering GIS to deliver superfast broadband and break down the digital divides that we have in the country. And Network Rail are using GIS to modernise our transport infrastructure, which, again, critical in terms of growing the economy and improving productivity. And then really important work happening in the health sector. Manchester NHS Trust are using indoor GIS to manage and optimise the use of their hospital buildings. But I now just want to say a little bit more about the use of GIS at Heathrow, which I'm sure is familiar to all of you. It's Europe's busiest airport. And they're using GIS in their property team to manage quite a vast portfolio of buildings, real estate units, and other spaces across the Heathrow estate, which is more than 12 square kilometres. They've created a digital twin, as Jack spoke about, of its commercial property, and using ArcGIS Online and ArcGIS Indoors to manage that space. It also links directly into their property information management system. The result of that is a floor-aware map of 26,000 separate spaces across the airport, and it allows the staff that are using the system to make better decisions for the benefit of all of their tenants, the airlines, and I guess ultimately us, the passengers and the customers that are using Heathrow. So that really was just a very rapid-fire look at some of the ways in which GIS is being used. GIS is really being used to address a whole bunch of the unintended consequences we face in the world. And that really was just scratching the surface. Now, at Esri UK, another really important part of our mission, as I said, is to support you in that work. We continue to invest in our platform and in the data that we provide, leveraging the latest advances in AI, which Mark and the team will talk about shortly. But we also invest significantly in our people. We want to have expertise across the full breadth of the ArcGIS platform, but also around business transformation, around project management and project delivery, around managed services, around technical support, around training and education. I could go on, but we want to help you be successful. And we also invest in our network of partners, many of whom you can meet here today. And they offer products and solutions and data and services to complement and extend what we do as an organization. So please do take the time to meet with them today as well. So just in wrapping up, I hope you can see it's a really important time in the world today, but you do have the expertise, the skills, and the tools to really make a difference. And I think geography and spatial understanding is absolutely critical in making that a success.